thought this was fitting to things that are going on currently with this thing I call a plan that they had in place for quite a while, and my views on this whole virus, as they call it, can be sought elsewhere. But anyways, just take stuff for face value as they're talking about it, which I don't believe most of it, if any of it. That's something for you to look into and decide. But I want to talk about the 1976, the swine flu that was around, that they thought was a huge scare. It was largely concerning, and they estimated at least 1 million or more people were going to die fast, and it was going to come fast and hard, and there was nothing they really saw that they could do other than create a vaccine. So at that being said, Ford was president at that time, and there was a lot of push. It was election year. There was a lot of push to try to get something under control, whether that meant really under control or just the facade of it, just feeling like it's under control. So the citizen, the voting population would feel better, and that would affect anything, an election and votes overall. So what was done, and I would like you to do some research. I'll put a link in this video also that concerns us, but articles that I've read, I'll read a few pieces from it, from various ones, and I know Ron Paul talks about this also. In the spring of 1976, it looked like this year's flu was the real thing, so they compared it to the 1918 flu. Because of that, they got people scared and worried. And there was a lot of poor decisions that were made. So it says poor decision making on the part of the government led to an unnecessary vaccination of about 45 million citizens. This all happened in the spring with emergency legislation for the National Swine Flu Immunization Program being signed into effect in mid-April. By the time immunizations began, October 1st, though the proposal epidemic had failed to emerge. So the epidemic that they're talking about had failed to rise, had failed to emerge. Had failed to be a major issue, and they were worried about this in April. It got signed into law by October when the stuff was available, the vaccines. It was this whole thing that people were panicked about, and this whole thing that they were scared about. There was nothing really, but the government went forward anyways with that, and they call it the Great Swine Flu Epidemic of 1976. And then I'll just find a few more things they highlight. President Ford signed the bill on April 15th, 1976. The scientists began to come to their senses by July. They were pretty much in agreement that the flu pandemic in 1976 would not lead to 1 million U.S. dead. But the U.S. government was unstoppable. Congress began to pressure the drug companies to work faster toward development of a swine flu vaccine. The drug companies suggested that they could work faster and better if they were given immunity from lawsuits in the event something went wrong with the vaccine. Congress refused, and then they sort of severed ties, to put it lightly. Drug companies weren't happy with Congress, that kind of stuff, but things still went forward as far as fear and panic. And then Congress, on August 3rd of that year, Congress finally agreed to completely make drug companies not culpable. They cannot be sued and cannot be held against any and all lawsuits that might incur as a result of the distribution of swine flu vaccine. The drug companies then got to work. August 15th, President Ford signed the National Influenza Immunization Program, NIIP. This set a global, this was set as a goal, of the immunization of at least 80% of the U.S. population. And then on October 1st, 1976, the immunization program began. By October 11th, approximately 40 million people had received swine flu immunizations, mostly through the new compressed air vaccination guns that they'd had. That evening in Pittsburgh came the first blow to the immunization program. 3 senior citizens died soon after receiving their swine flu shots. And then there's stories about this that some say it was related to the shot, others say it was a different deal, it was just a coincidence, a fluke, that right after the shot, pretty much 3 senior citizens died. You can take that how you want. And then a few weeks later, there were many reports. It doesn't have how many. I've heard there was, hundreds of thousands or even tens of thousands, but I don't see that in this article, where it appeared that many had been diagnosed of Guillain-Barré syndrome. That's a paralyzing neuromuscular disorder that was, like I said, among many, many people who received the swine flu shot, the swine flu immunization, as they call it. So why am I saying this? I'm saying this because then it was a politically, I guess, the politically correct thing to do in the eyes of politics and the drug companies. It was the thing they need to do. Whether that is for your health and my health, I would say no. But if it's for your vote and my vote, and a way for them to get more money from you and I through inflation or through other programs that they deem fit through taxation, I would say yes. That's where it fell. And I think that story is a great story pointing that out. The drug companies did not want to be liable for anything bad, did not want to be sued. And once Congress said, yeah, well, we're not going to do that, then the drug companies sort of slowed down, stopped, said, well, this isn't going to happen. Come August 3rd of that year, a month or two later, then Congress came around from pressure from whatever lobbyists or the scare tactics, whatever it was, then they said, okay, yes, we will make you guys immune. You cannot be sued, cannot be held accountable. All of a sudden, the drug companies got to work and they created this thing. Then the plan arose where we're going to go forward and give this to our citizens because it's the right thing to do. It's how it was sold. It's the safe thing to do is how it was sold. Now, if you read into this whole deal from 1976, you will find out, as I have, it wasn't for you and I. It wasn't for the citizens. It wasn't for our benefit whatsoever. There are bigger reasons involved, as there always is with government. So I'm saying this because I ran across a couple other stories. I won't read from them, but I'll just tell you what they were involved. What they involve. And so I've read some stuff where they're pushing through. Some was from July, some was from October of this year, 2020. It says they're pushing through the idea. I know Ticketmaster already pushed this through without proof of a vaccine for coronavirus or negative tests within so many days, you are not allowed to purchase a ticket and or go to a concert or go to an event or whatever you might purchase a ticket for through Ticketmaster. You won't be allowed to do that. I know there's talk at New York because it's going to make mandatory vaccinations. The law across the board where you have no choice but to get out the state. And there's no going back. There's no working in the state. So that being said, I've seen other stories and I've read other articles where WIC, food stamps, welfare, UBI, which is Universal Basic Income, which is coming, and maybe attached to vaccination. Well, you didn't get your vaccination. You're not able to get food stamps. You're not able to get your WIC on the WIC program. You're not able to get the welfare checks. You're not able to get your UBI because you didn't get vaccinated. You need to show proof of your vaccination before you can get these. So also airlines. I know there's talk of the companies that are in charge of most of the airlines. I think 38 airlines that are involved in these. They're pushing this thing too. If you're not vaxxed, you're not flying, type of deal. So why would they do this? Well, because there's an agenda behind it, is my opinion. Look into it. There's an agenda. They have no proof, really, of anything, in my opinion, on this whole virus thing, on this vaccination thing. In 1976, they had no proof, really, but they went forward. And there was a lot of harm that was done. Death. People got, disabled for life. That kind of stuff. So just look into these things. I'll try to attach that article, or maybe a couple others. But please look into these things. As always, you stay vigilant and do what you can to protect yourself, protect your family, and protect your wealth. Thank you for watching.